dig it?
How do I get ripe tomatoes in rainy Vancouver?
Well, you just need to know some good tips. The first one is that tomatoes need an early start. So if you're going to plant them from seed, you actually need to plant the seeds at the beginning of March.
But it's cold in March.
Yeah, it is cold in March. But tomatoes need a long growing season. So they're actually started indoors and then they're transplanted outside when the weather warms up in May or June. If you don't have the right equipment to grow tomatoes indoors, that's fine. You can just simply wait until the weather warms up in May or June and go buy tomatoes already started from your garden store.
Sounds great. What type do I buy?
Well, there are about 4 things that you have to think about. The first decision you have to make is, do you want a bush tomato or a vining tomato?
I don't know.
Well, a vining tomato, which also is called an indeterminate tomato, will keep growing up and up and up, and it won't stop until the plant dies. To support a vining tomato, you need to use a stake. And this is actually about the height that it needs to be, because a vining tomato can grow over 10 feet tall in one summer.
Wow.
The other type of tomato is a bush tomato. It's also called a determinate tomato. And instead of growing up and up like the vining tomato, it stops at about 3 or 4 feet, and then it bushes out like a big bush. So a bush tomato needs the support of a tomato cage.
Like this one?
Exactly.
A bush tomato sounds good.
The next thing you need to choose is the variety, and there are literally hundreds of different bush tomatoes. Some are big fruits, some are tiny little fruits, some are yellow, orange, red, and most importantly, some of them ripen really early in the summer, and some of them don't ripen until the very, very late end of summer.
I like orange tomatoes.
So in Vancouver, where we get lots of rain starting early in the fall, we want to choose varieties that ripen really early so that we actually get ripe fruit before the fall rains set in. Generally, we consider a tomato early if it can mature in 50 to 70 days.
So what's the third thing?
Disease.
Ew.
Tomatoes catch a fungal disease called blight. Late blight occurs at the very end of the summer into the fall, and if your tomatoes catch it, it will kill the whole plant and rot your tomatoes as they ripen.
That sounds awful. How do I stop it?
Well, the best way to stop it is actually to build a protective cover over top of your tomatoes, kind of like an umbrella for your tomatoes, and that stops the rain from falling on their leaves. It also stops the rain from splashing the soil onto the plant. If you can't build a protective cover, then you have to make extra certain that you have a really early variety tomato so it will ripen before late blight hits. Many tomato gardeners will take an extra precaution and will prune off the bottom leaves of the tomato plant so none of the leaves are touching the soil.
Is that the only time to prune them?
No, there's actually many different times to prune tomatoes, and as long as the tomato is growing up to about a foot high, you can start pruning. The main thing to be careful about, though, is with an indeterminate or a vining tomato, you never want to snip off the main vine, or else your tomato will stop growing. We have more detailed information on pruning available on our website.
Is there anything else I need to know to help grow tomatoes?
Well, like any plant, tomatoes need to be properly spaced apart, and they need water and healthy soil and lots of nutrients. Tomatoes are especially heavy feeders, so they need very fertile soil to grow properly. Because tomatoes are such heavy feeders, you may want to use a liquid organic fertilizer like a seaweed fertilizer or a fish fertilizer when you water, especially when the plant is flowering or making its fruit.
Okay, I can't wait to get started.
Great!
Please subscribe.
And we'll see you next time.
Can you dig it?